Hey, what is going on, guys? In this video today, I'm gonna be ranking all 14 seasons of Fortnite so far from worst to best. There really isn't a set-in-stone criteria for these rankings. I'm gonna consider a variety of factors such as how fun the season was, how balanced the meta was, certain events and changes that took place during the season, and a few other things as well. I'll be providing a brief explanation for why each season is ranked where it is, and without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, so let's start this off with the worst season in Fortnite history in my opinion, Season X, aka Season 10. And if you played or just remember this season, there's probably one specific thing that sticks out about it, and that was the mechs. In my opinion, they were hands down the single most overpowered and annoying thing in Fortnite history, and at least to me, they basically single-handedly ruined the season. However, it's not like Season X outside of the mechs was all that great anyway. The map was in a very stale place with a bunch of weird POIs that people didn't really like, the shotgun meta was pretty bad as a whole, just a terrible season overall. And at least in my opinion, easily the worst one in Fortnite history. In second to last place, we have Fortnite Season 9. And to be honest, other than the mechs, most of the negative parts of Season 10 apply to Season 9 and vice versa. However, I would say two things about Season 9 really stick out to me that make it this low. First off, Season 9 is when Tilted Towers was replaced with Neo Tilted, and you can't really get a bigger downgrade than that. The second reason was the combat shotgun. If you guys don't remember, the combat was first added at the beginning of Season 9, and even though people remember it somewhat fondly now, it was one of the most overpowered weapons of all time for the majority of the season. If you didn't have the combat, you were at such a huge disadvantage compared to someone that did, it basically single-handedly ruined the weapon meta for an entire season. Coming in at 12th place, we have Chapter 2 Season 1. Now this season is very controversial because it did have two solid positives. First off, it introduced an entirely new map into the game, and it was also a very good season for competitive. However, the reason it was so good for comp is because the game in general was just very bland. The weapon and item meta was very scarce, so to say. There were really no mobility items, no vehicles, and there was the least amount of variety in each weapon category that we've ever seen. The level of simplicity meant that competitive really rewarded smart players because there were no bailout items, but for everything else, this season just felt so boring, especially since it lasted almost 6 months, which I think also hurts its ranking. Next up in the rankings, we have Chapter 2 Season 2. This season, in my opinion, will mainly be remembered for two things: the insane mythic POIs and mythic weapons that came with them, and also the re-emergence of the spray meta due to spike traps being vaulted. The mythic weapons in Season 2 were just plain and simple way too OP. The mythic scar and drum gun were both basically an AR, SMG, and shotgun all in one, and even though spike traps being removed definitely helped controller players, since SMGs were really good this season, it just meant that every close range fight ended with a guy jumping into your box and barrel stuffing you with an SMG. Now we get into the top 10, and at number 10 we have Season 5. I have a feeling this one's going to be a bit controversial because it came during the glory days of Fortnite, so to say, but if you played Season 5, you may remember the infamous spray and pray meta that it created. At the beginning of the season, Fortnite stopped players from being able to use double shotguns, but since the shotguns were balanced around being able to use two of them, now that you could only use one, they were incredibly weak. And to add to that, Season 5 also had some of the most OP SMGs in Fortnite history, including the pre-nerf P90 and pre-nerf drum gun. I get why people look back at this time in Fortnite with rose-tinted glasses, but Season 5, in all honesty, was not that great. At the number 9 spot, we have the current season, Chapter 2 Season 4. Now, to be fair, it's definitely hard to rank a season before it's fully over, and that does hurt this season's ranking. I don't think Season 4 has been terrible or even really bad by any means, like some people would say, but there's nothing that I feel is really great about it either. The weapon meta is decent, the map is pretty similar to how it's been in the past, and I guess the Marvel collab has actually been pretty cool. So a relatively middle of the pack season that could definitely be higher by the end of it if they do something really interesting. Coming in at number 8, we have the final season from Chapter 2, Chapter 2 Season 3. I'll be honest, I initially thought this season was going to be bad when it was leaked that the entire map was going to be flooded, but honestly, I thoroughly enjoyed the season as a whole. They did a fairly good job of nerfing the mythic weapons from Season 2, the map actually felt new and unique with the water level lowering over time, the weapon meta was pretty solid. I just feel that it was a good mix of balance and fun, and because of that, it's the best season from Chapter 2 so far in my opinion. Now we get into the prime territory of Fortnite, and at number 7 we have Season 7. This one's really hard to rank because the beginning of the season was pretty darn bad, to be honest. You had the super OP planes, the super OP Infinity Blade, and a bunch of other really annoying items like the boombox and fireworks. But then, as the season went on, it gradually got better and better, and in the last 2 to 3 weeks after update 7.40, that was, in my opinion, the best time in all of Fortnite history. That patch totally fixed every weapon/item problem in the game, added siphon, mats per kill, and an increased farming rate to public matches. It was hands down the best update in Fortnite history. Now, since that was only about a quarter of the season, I can't really rank it any higher than this spot because, as I said, the early part of the season was definitely pretty underwhelming, so I think it averages out to a middle of the pack season pretty much. Moving on to number 6, we have the season that started it all, Season 1. Now, I know Season 1 has a lot of nostalgia involved, and some people might be mad I ranked it this low, but if you actually played in Season 1, for as fun as it was, the game was still so new that it just wasn't super optimized yet. There was pretty much no customization at all for controller players, there were tons of bugs, the weapon and item pool was super bare, and I think if you were on console, you were still playing at 30 FPS at this point. So a season with a ton of significance because it was the first one ever, but the game definitely improved with future updates that made later seasons better. Now we're into the top 5, and at number 5 we have Season 6. This season was the Darkness themed one with the cube at Loot Lake, and what I really liked about this one was it was during the time where Fortnite was adding weekly weapons and items to the game that were actually really good. In Season 6 we got the purple and gold versions of the pump for the first time ever, we got the heavy assault rifle, which is still one of my favorite weapons of all time, ATKs, which were cool as well, and along with that, the weapon meta and the map were just in really good spots as a whole. So probably not quite one of the super elite seasons, but definitely really close. The 4th best season on our list is Season 2. Fortnite Season 2, in my opinion, was the point where Fortnite really took a huge step forward as a game. In Season 1, like I said earlier, the map and loot pool was pretty bare as a whole. So right off the bat in Season 2, Fortnite added 5 different POIs to give the map more action, including tilted, shifty shafts, and snobby shores. Plus, they added all kind of iconic weapons and items, including the Chug Jug, Impulse Grenades, TAC SMGs, and the minigun. So this season had the OG aura of Season 1, where it was still really early in the game's history, but in general, the game was just at a better point, and that's why this season's ranked higher. At the number 3 spot for best season in Fortnite history, we have Season 8. In my opinion, and I've seen a bunch of other pros say this as well, this was the best map in Fortnite history. It was really one of the only times in Fortnite history where every corner of the map had interesting and populated POIs that people actually wanted to land at. Top left, you had the Block and Pleasant. Top right, you had Lazy Lagoon in the volcano area. Bottom left was Frosty, which was awesome. And then bottom right, you had Paradise Palms. Plus, much like with Season 6, Season 8 brought a lot of cool things into the game, including reboot vans, shadow bombs, and the purple and gold infantry rifles, which were really good. Plus, it also had Siphon for the first few weeks before it got removed in Update 8.20, so that added a little extra to this season as well. The runner-up for best season ever is Season 3. This is when Fortnite really started to optimize and perfect the game as a whole. They made a bunch of little tweaks to buildings, everything, like enabling auto switch materials and allowing you to build through structures. And in general, this was just the most fun period of Fortnite when the game really exploded and everybody started to play it. They were constantly adding fun LTMs, the map was in a really good spot, the weapon meta was solid, and this season also had, in my opinion, the most iconic battle pass of all time with the spacesuit skins and the tier 100 John Wick. And finally, my pick for the best Fortnite season of all time is Season 4. I believe that this was the best period in Fortnite where the game was finally optimized to a perfect level, and at the same time they still had fresh new ideas to keep the game fun, but they also didn't go overboard and make it unbalanced. Once Season 5 hit, it seemed like they really struggled to keep that same equilibrium. Also, Controller finally got Builder Pro in Season 4, which I believe was the biggest addition for Controller players ever, and it was basically the same deal as Season 3, where everything was just in a really balanced state. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you watched the entire thing, be sure to let me know with a comment down in the comment section below. What do you think about my rankings? Let me know anything that you think I got either really wrong or really right. Be sure to leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications, do whatever the heck you want, and I will catch you guys next time.